Hello! In this video I'm showing you two of my installations where I install the MyVaillant Connect. That's the unit which goes onto the bottom of the boiler, which then allows you to wirelessly connect to your boiler using your smartphone to control your central heating. And I also install the SensoROOM. That's a wireless thermostat which comes in this pack. Now I wish I could say that both of these installations went smoothly, but I'm afraid that they didn't, and I ended up having to call Vaillant Technical on both occasions. And of course Vaillant Technical were very good. They explained what the issues may be, and we managed to get both the units connected and working okay. Now there's a couple of things that you need to be aware of when you come to set up the app on the phone. Now on the first installation, the homeowner had an Android phone, so I was setting up on the Android, and on the second installation I was just setting up onto an Apple iPad. Now you would think both the installations would be the same, but they aren't. It's the Wi-Fi settings which are different. So the Android is definitely slightly different to the Apple iPad. The Vaillant Technical guy told me that the Android system tends to be a smoother installation, whilst the Apple system tends to be a bit more problematic, because that's just the way Apple is. And of course I cover both of these in the video. Now just before I get on with this video, I want to quickly remind you all again that down in the description I've got lots of help videos all about this boiler and other controls for it. So I've got this SensoROOM Pure. That thermostat unlocks the timer which is on the boiler. Obviously I've got the commissioning of this new boiler. I've got the presentation by Vaillant for this boiler. There's some issues I've had when installing this boiler. I made a video for that. And there's a whole load of stuff. There's an app video as well. So yeah, check all those out because there are some really useful videos down there. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video where I just give you my thoughts, the pros and the cons for this unit. Is it as energy efficient as Vaillant say it is? And also if you're an engineer, there's now the app where you can now connect directly to your customer's boiler and see what photos are coming up on their boiler before you even get there. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to see all that. Right, now let's get on with this video. So the first part is going to be installing it onto the Apple iPad system, and the second part is going to be installing it onto the Android system where you've got those slightly different Wi-Fi settings that we need to go into. So let's get on with it. Now there are several packs that you can get for the new Vaillant ecoTEC Plus combination boiler. There's the MyVaillant Connect, which just comes with the receiver box, and then you download the app onto your phone. There's the MyVaillant Connect plus SensoROOM. That comes with a receiver box and a wireless thermostat. Again, you download the app onto your phone. And then finally, there's the most expensive version. Comes with a receiver box and of course the programmable wireless control. And again, you download the app. And in this video, I'm covering the MyVaillant Connect with the SensoROOM wireless thermostat. And of course, setting up the app, which is the same for all three packs. So let's take a look at what we get in this pack. Here's the part numbers and the QR code. Now this control system is especially made for the new Vaillant boiler, and I'll show you why in just a minute. So here we have the receiver unit with its data cable like that. Then we've also got the wireless room thermostat. Here we have a power supply. I'm not going to be using that. Here's some more QR codes to be scanned. We've got our yellow registration card. Put that somewhere safe. Then there's another little pack of screws. Then we've got a pack of instructions which are pretty basic and straightforward. The room thermostat can stand by itself, so it's got its little feet, so you can just stand it up on its own, or you can screw it to the wall. The receiver box fits directly on the bottom of the boiler, or you could fit it remotely, and that's what the power supply is for, but you would need to run a wire back to the boiler and connect it to the data port. And here's a little diagram in the instructions showing you just that. Now the instructions are pretty basic and it's just a case of following the pictures. So before we install anything, we need to find this little bit of paper and scan the QR code and start setting up the app. Before I do that, I'll show you how to install the MyVaillant Connect box onto the boiler. Installing the unit is fairly straightforward. You just find these two lugs on the bottom of the boiler. We then take the unit and we just literally clip it on. It couldn't be any easier than that. Place it on the two lugs, slide it backwards, you'll hear it click. That's it, it's now secure. We can then find our data ports, so we're just going to peel off the protective film on there. Then we just take the plug and we just plug it into the data port. like that. Give it a little wiggle, make sure it's nice and secure, and that's it. That's as much as we need to do. Then it's just a case of switching on the boiler. There we go, boiler's on. It now starts up. And we're looking for the light to start flashing on the bottom of this MyVaillant Connect unit. Now the central heating status icon has come up in a display in the boiler, and you can see it's got a line through it, so we know that the unit is connected now, because once it's connected we can no longer adjust the temperature of our central heating. That is now done automatically by the app. When you first turn the boiler on, the light on the MyVaillant Connect box should start flashing green. I've taken this from the instructions and it tells you what the status is of the light of the MyVaillant Connect box. Partway through the installation, it should start flashing rapid blue. It does this whilst it's making the internet connection. And when it's finished, we should get a solid blue. And that's when we know it's all connected and ready to go. I just want to jump in here and let you know that if you saw the presentation by Vaillant at the Marriott Hotel, Simon said that you could use the wireless thermostat without installing the app. Now I'm pretty sure that you can't do that. I did speak to Vaillant and they said that you have to install the app first, and that's certainly what I found. And to do that, you're going to need to connect onto the internet, so make sure that your homeowner has broadband or some kind of connection onto the internet, otherwise you can't use these controls. If you have managed to set up the thermostat on its own, let us all know in the comments. And before you start installing the app, make sure that you've got their home's Wi-Fi address, the password, and you know how to unlock your customer's phone. So this is an Apple iPad, so we need to scan the top right hand one to get the app. Now, like I said in the intro, I'm an Android man, so I'm not particularly familiar with the Apple system. But now we've got to the app, so we just press the install, or I think I said get. It then installs the app. And of course, you're going to be doing this on your customer's phone. So make sure that you know how to unlock the phone, and also make sure that you've got the Wi-Fi settings for the property. Now that's installed, we need to open the app. We're going to allow MyVaillant to send notifications. Now we just run through a couple of welcome information menus. And now the homeowner needs to make an account. So I'm going to let them make themselves a new account. Now the homeowner has finished making accounts, we now got to go through a whole load of menus to set it up. And it is pretty straightforward, we just follow it through. Now the last menu said add new home. We now need to find that card again and scan the big QR code in the middle here. So I'm going to scan that now. Okay, this one to let the app use the camera. And there we go, I've scanned it now. And now it's taking me to this screen where we need to add the address where the device is installed. Now I've done that, I'm going to press continue. Now the homeowner needs to name his system. We've just named it Bones Heating. And then we press continue when we finish doing that. Scroll up and then press continue again. And then it says we're going to install the gateway, and it's going to guide us through it. And this can take up to 20 minutes. So press continue again. I'm asked to go to the room where it is installed. Continue. And now it says we need to accept all these little menus which are going to pop up. So we've got the location, so I'm going to allow that. Access your home data, allow that one. Now this is a bit of a concerning one. Before we continue, let's check whether your system meets the basic requirements for the setup. What happens if it doesn't? So I click on start check. But this system check seems to be fine, looking good. System check was successful. I press continue. I'm now asked if I have the data port on the bottom of the boiler. Obviously this is a brand new boiler, so yes it does. So I'm going to click the yes. Check for previously installed modules. Do you have a module installed underneath your appliance? Well, no, it's not a previously installed module, but yes, I do have a module installed underneath the appliance. Because obviously I've already installed it and it's waiting for the connection. Now I clicked yes, but you should click no. On the Android installation, I do that. So you can take a look at those menus there. But basically it just tells you how to fit the receiver unit to the bottom of the boiler and plug it in. But like I said, I clicked yes because I'd already installed it. Check whether it's a gateway and does it have the LED? Yes it does, so I clicked yes again. Is the LED flashing blue? It is, so I click that button. Then we were taken to this menu, and then we spent some time trying to work out what we were supposed to be scanning. I scrolled up and then pressed continue. I was then taken to this menu where it says connect to home. For me, again, this is a little unclear. Am I clicking my home because I've already made an account, or am I clicking create new home because we're setting up an installation? So I clicked on my home, and that seems to be the right choice because it now takes us to this menu here where it asks us to add accessory. I then scan the small QR code which is next to that large QR code. We were then taken to this menu where it says select an accessory to add to my home. So I then clicked on MyVaillant Connect. We're then asked to put in a setup code. Now, to be completely honest, I'm not sure where we got that setup code from because we tried putting in every code that we could possibly find. We then tried using the code which is on the bottom of the MyVaillant Connect. That's the receiver unit which is on the bottom of the boiler. So if you take a look at the bottom of it, there's a QR code on there, and there's also a code which we entered in. Unfortunately, that didn't work either. And that's when I called Vaillant Technical to try and find out what on earth was going on and how we connect this thing up. We've been taken back to this screen again where we have to scan the QR code which is on the piece of paper. Now, I'm not sure what we did to make it connect, but it did finally connect. My homeowner was with his tablet, and I'd gone through to the boiler with the technical guy on the phone. He told me to press the button on the front of the gateway, the receiver unit, to restart it. And at the same time, the app was trying to connect to the bridge. And then finally, we seemed to have a connection. We were then asked to choose the bridge location. So that's basically where the boiler is. So we selected kitchen. We then pressed continue, where it then took us to this menu, bridge name. We then just pressed continue again, and it then said bridge added to my home. Press continue again. We're then taken to this screen where it's asking us about the small room thermostat which comes with this pack. So I press continue, and then it asks us where that thermostat is installed. And we decided just to say that it was in the hallway or the entrance. Now just bear in mind, I hadn't turned on that thermostat yet, so it still had the piece of card in between the batteries, so it was still turned off. But the app is asking me to install it anyway. So we selected entrance and press continue. It then shows us the thermostat name, SensoROOM, press continue, thermostat added to my home, press done. And finally, it looks like we're getting towards the end. A minute or so later, the screen finally changes. And then eureka, it's finally connected. Connection established. Your gateway has been successfully connected. Press finish. Oh my goodness, that was a bit of a brain strain. But we're not done yet. A few more menus to get through. Right now, I'm still actually on the phone to the technical guy because I wanted to make sure that we got through this and we finally got it installed okay. Now at this point, the light on the front of the boiler was still flashing blue. When you're all properly connected and set up, it will turn to a solid blue. Now it was at this point that I removed the piece of card from the thermostat, so that turned on. Now the technical guy said it was a coincidence, but when I removed the card, the light on the front of the boiler turned to a solid blue. The screen then had finally changed to the app. So now I just need to say thank you and goodbye to the nice Vaillant technical guy. Okay. Well, thanks for your time.
Thanks for your call. Thank you.
Bye. So I click on next and next again. Choose your heating type. Well, that is radiators. How old is your house? Select what best suits your house. Then click next again. Then we have to select where the house is in the country. Now it started off in Germany. You just got to touch the screen and move it around and find your location. Click next again. And then thank you. It looks like we've got to the end of it. The system is now optimized. And then finally click OK. And then the app should look something like this. Now one good point was that the thermostat, I did not need to connect it to the app. It did it automatically. But if you need to install it or you want to check, you just click on settings in the app. You then go to control at the top there, so click on control, and then at the bottom it says thermostat. Click on that. You then got the section where it says connected thermostats, and now you can see it says SensoROOM is installed, and you can add a new thermostat obviously by clicking that add new thermostat. I'm just going to go back and back, and there we are. Now here's another little stumbling block I came across, so I thought I'd show the customer it running. So let's just whack the temperature up on the front of the app here. So we're at 26 degrees now, and that should bring the central heating on. But it didn't. I thought I'd try using the thermostat, so I turned that all the way up as well, right up to 30 degrees, and see if that brought the central heating on. But no, that didn't work either. And then I'm stuck again, and I'm thinking, what on earth is going on? I want to show the customer the central heating working, but I can't get it to come on. This is crazy. So another call to the Vaillant technical to find out why we couldn't get the heating on. And it turns out that if the temperature outside is over 21 degrees, then you cannot turn your heating on. And because it was a nice hot sunny day outside, the temperature was over 21 degrees. In fact, you can see on the app there, it says 27.2 outside. I mean, it's definitely not that hot, but it is definitely a nice sunny day. But either way, it means that we cannot turn the heating on and show our homeowner their central heating working with the app if the temperature outside is over 21 degrees. One other thing to note whilst installing the app is that all the time we're running through the settings and setting up, the boiler is actually running the central heating. You can see the blue light flashing on the receiver box, and you can also see up in the display, you can see the radiator symbol flashing and the flame is on. We're still trying to get this app connected, and you can see the central heating is still running, and we're right up to 60 degrees and it keeps on going. So I did ask the Vaillant technical guy if there was anything we could do about this, and he suggested removing the link which is in the 24 volt connection on the BCB, and that should turn the central heating off, and when you finished installing it all, you can then put the link back again. Now I don't know if that works, I haven't tried it. I guess another thing you could do is to isolate the boiler, so just close the flow valve or maybe the return valve. The boiler's still going to heat up, but at least you're not going to heat the entire house up. This was a lovely sunny day, and now the house is like a furnace. Not to mention wasting all that gas heating up the house unnecessarily. So that's how my installation went on this Apple system. When chatting to the technical guy afterwards, he said that the Apple systems are more problematic. Connecting to the bridge seems to be a particular issue because also Apple is trying to set up Apple Home if you have other smart devices like Alexa and such like. Now I'm not sure exactly how long we spent installing the MyVaillant Connect onto the Apple system. Judging by the footage, I would say it took around about an hour. Although it definitely felt like a lot longer. But if all goes smoothly, it would probably only take about half an hour. Just before I get on with that Android installation, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Ballard, and I've been a gas registered engineer for nearly 30 years. The aim of my channel is to help you with your central heating and your plumbing. If you find this video at all useful, then please give me that little bit of feedback by clicking on that thumbs up or the subscribe. You can ring on the bell if you want to receive a notification, and of course you can share the video with your friends. If you visit my website, I have categorized all my videos on products and parts that I recommend so you can easily find what you're looking for. And I'd like to say a really big thank you to everybody who's bought me a cup of coffee and left me a donation in my Toolbox fund. It's really appreciated, and it does really help me to make more videos which will hopefully help you. So now let's move on to the Android installation. It is pretty much the same, but there is a slightly different process to connect onto the internet. So I'll show you what you have to do there. So I'm using exactly the same pack as before. So I've got the gateway and I've got a wireless room thermostat. If we take a quick look at the room thermostat, because I didn't show you before, we've got two holes in the back plate there so we can screw it to the wall. Then we've got two AAA batteries in the back there, and you've also got that little card to remove to turn it on. And of course, like I said, you can just put it on the side like that. And like I said before, installing is pretty straightforward. We just slide it onto the two lugs, we just push it back gently, it clips into location, and then we just plug in our data port. Like that. I thought I'd just show you it from a different angle so you can see it looks pretty neat on the bottom of the boiler there. It's a little bit of a concern that maybe in the future there might be a leak on the boiler, and of course that could leak down into the unit, and of course this is a really expensive unit, so there is always the option to install it remotely. So now let's get going with setting up the app. My customer's already downloaded the app and it's already made an account. So I click on Add New Home, and now we've got to scan that white card. So I click on the scan button like that. Allow MyVaillant to use the camera. Now scan the code, I can scroll up and press on continue. You're about to start the guided gateway installation. So I scroll up and press continue again, where it says please go to the room where your heating system is installed. So I click on start guided setup. Then there's a few more permissions that I have to press continue to. So continue to that one and then click OK. Click allow here, and then click on allow to let MyVaillant to access our device's location. Then we have that system check again, so I press start system check. Then I press continue on a looking good. It was successful. Now we're taken to this part where it says identify your model, and it's asking me, do I have a data port underneath the boiler? Yes I do, so I click on yes. Now it says check for previously installed models. Now you should now click no. So I've clicked on no. It's now telling me to turn off the power to the boiler. So my boiler is already turned off, so I'm going to click on next. Now it's telling me to plug in the wire cable, so connect it onto the boiler. So I click on next. And now it says install and connect the gateway module. So I click on next. And now it says start pairing. Now it's telling me to switch on the boiler and do not touch any buttons for at least 5 minutes. We should have a green flashing light and we're looking for it to turn to a blue flashing light. So I click on next, where it then asks me to confirm that the LED is flashing blue. So I'll now turn on the boiler and wait for the LED to start flashing blue, and then click LED is flashing blue. So here we go, turn on the boiler. The LED is now flashing blue, so I can press on that button. And now we're taken to Connect Smartphone. Now this is where it's a little different to the Apple system. So press connect, and now we're taken to this menu here. Connect your mobile device to your Wi-Fi network, starting with MyVaillant Connect. We scroll down and now we click on next. If you click on next now, you'll be then faced with this screen here. You're currently connected to this Wi-Fi network. That's the home's Wi-Fi network. To continue, please go to the gateway Wi-Fi and connect to MyVaillant. Now what it's telling you to do is to go to your phone's Wi-Fi. So I'm going to find the Wi-Fi settings on the phone. So I'm going to click on that one like that. I'm going to go into the Wi-Fi settings and make sure that Wi-Fi is turned on. And they're going to look down this list here, and I'm looking for MyVaillant Connect. So now we are connecting the phone directly to the gateway. Scroll through the various connections until you find MyVaillant. And there you can see it says MyVaillant Connect. So I click on that. Now the phone's Wi-Fi is connecting to the gateway. This little box pops up saying it has no internet access. Well, that doesn't matter, so we just click on connect anyway. So click connect. The phone is now directly connected to the gateway, or you could look at it that the gateway is now directly connected to the phone using the Wi-Fi. Now I've just clicked on back from the Wi-Fi settings, but it's not taking me back to the app. So I need to click on the button where apps are already open, find my Vaillant app which should be running in the background, and open it up again. There we go, I found it again. Now I can click on next. Now it's telling me to select the home's Wi-Fi. That's so that the gateway can now connect onto the home's Wi-Fi. So I've selected the home's Wi-Fi. Now I've got to put in the home's password as well. Now the gateway can connect directly to the home's Wi-Fi. And you can see on the screen there, it says the gateway is trying to establish a connection with the internet server. This may take several minutes. And now the gateway light is flashing blue fast. Flashing blue fast means making a connection with the internet. But now we're waiting for it to turn to a solid blue. When it turns to solid blue, we then know it's connected correctly. And here it is when it's turned to solid blue. So this is where I ran into another problem again, and I actually stopped filming. But the problem was I couldn't get the gateway to connect to the Wi-Fi in the property. It just kept on timing out. So I called Vaillant again to find out why the gateway was not connecting to the Wi-Fi. And we decided that it was because the two were quite a long way apart. So the boiler was in the back of the house and the router was right at the very front of the house, and there were several walls in between. Since then, I've spoken to Vaillant again, and they told me that when the light is flashing blue, not only is it connecting to the internet in the property, it's also connecting to the Vaillant server. And the first thing that it's going to do is download an update, because obviously everything's made with the original software, and then it's sent out, and then within weeks it's had an update, and then it has to download that update. And he told me that update could take up to an hour. Once the light has turned to a solid blue on the gateway, it has finished making all the connections, and then we can move on to the next stage on the app. Finally, it did connect and it turned to a solid blue. But the app on my customer's phone was saying that we still hadn't made the connection and we need to redo the process again. But it turned out that the app had frozen or was stuck or something, so we then had to close the app, so make sure that it's closed, and then we had to reopen it again by clicking on the icon, and then we could continue with the next stage of the installation. Once we closed the app and then reopened it, the rest of the setting up the app went absolutely fine, and it was just the same as on the Apple system, so we just went through all the various menus until finally we had finished. And then everything was working fine. We could turn the heating on and off. So the last thing to do was just to install the SensoROOM, the thermostat, which again went exactly the same as on the Apple system. So that's it for my two experiences of installing this MyVaillant Connect system. So am I going to be recommending this system to my customers? Now, I'm not sure whether I would definitely recommend it, but I would certainly point out the pros and the cons of why you might want this system to why you might want the Vaillant SensoROOM Pure, which is just a thermostat and then a timer on the boiler. Or you might want a completely separate control system like the Honeywell T3R, and then you'd have more control over your boiler. So the pros and the cons. Obviously, these are my own personal thoughts. If you don't agree with any of them, then you can always let me know in the comments below. Now, the big pro or the con, as I see it, is now pretty much everything is done from your smartphone. So now you set all your times and temperatures from your smartphone. You can turn your heating on and off, whether you're in or out of the property, from your phone. You can look at your energy data, see how much energy you're using, and pretty much everything you can now do on your smartphone. You can even see what the outside temperature is. And of course, the app uses that outdoor temperature to adjust what temperature the central heating now works at. So now once this system is installed, you can no longer adjust the temperature that your central heating runs at. That is how hot your radiators get. The app will decide that depending on how warm your house is and what the outdoor temperature is. So now when you put your heating on, depending what the temperature is outside and inside, depends on how hot your radiators get. So they may just be lukewarm. And on another day when it's very cold outside, they may be a lot hotter. And that's where the boiler then saves energy. Now, if you're a person who loves playing on their smartphone, then this system is probably absolutely fine for you. But if you don't like doing that, or if you're an older person, then I would suggest that this system where you have to do everything on your smartphone is probably not for you. And of course, you do need to have a broadband connection to be able to connect this onto the internet. And of course, not everyone does. Now, if you do have the wireless room thermostat, you can turn the heating on and off from there, and you don't have to use the app. Another pro, as a homeowner, if you give permission for your installer to have access to your boiler via his app, he can now see what fault codes are showing on your boiler. So he may be able to then instruct you as to what to do if there is a fault code coming up on your boiler. As an engineer, I think that could be pretty useful, but again, those fault codes, they only point us in a general direction of the fault. If you are an engineer, you can download this app here, which is MyVaillant Pro, and that should show you your installations where you've installed the MyVaillant Connect. Now, this app is new to me and there's a whole load of useful information in there, and hopefully it's only going to get better with time. I have touched on it in another video regarding scanning the QR code which is on parts now, so you can get the correct part number. Now for some cons, the most common thing which I get told when I go to people's homes is all I want to do is turn my heating on. I don't want to go on an app and have to swipe and click and flick. I just want to turn a dial and have my heating come on. I don't want to open up the app and then find that it's all changed. They've updated it. I can't find anything. Everything's been moved around. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to find out I've lost Wi-Fi or my broadband and now I can't turn my heating on because I can't connect with my phone. I don't want my data being collected by Vaillant or some heating engineer. I don't want the app having control of my heating. I want to be able to control it myself. I don't want the app turning my radiator temperature down. And for myself as a heating engineer, I find them a complete nightmare, because when something goes wrong, what's the problem? Is it the phone that's the problem? Is it the Wi-Fi that's the problem? Maybe it's the broadband that's the problem. Maybe the gateway on the boiler isn't connecting properly. Maybe the boiler itself is at fault. Who do I need? Do I need an IT guy to fix the connection, or do I need a heating engineer? We all know smart devices are getting more and more sophisticated and also more and more complicated, so that when they go wrong, they can be a complete nightmare to sort out. So that's about it then for the pros and the cons. There's probably a lot more we could go into, but I've just covered the basic ones which I come across. So hopefully that gives you some idea if you're thinking about getting one or installing one. Now, energy efficiency. How much more efficient are these smart controls? Now, I do have a soapbox I'd like to stand on when it comes to energy efficiency, but I'm going to try not to stand on that too much. I've been trialing a smart system in my own house using Drayton's Wiser Smart Thermostatic Radiator Valves, and I've been trialing that for the last year, and I've come across a whole bunch of issues which I'm going to be covering in a video shortly. So smart controls, I'm really on the fence on them. Now, just about all my customers these days ask me what can they do to reduce their gas bill. Now, the answer is pretty simple. You've got to stop your house from losing heat. That is the number one thing that you want to do. If a house doesn't lose any heat, then we wouldn't need any heating. Now, whether you do it from blocking up drafts, changing to double glazing, triple glazing, adding insulation and cladding to the outside of the house, whatever you do to stop your house from losing heat has got to be a good thing and the way forward. So what makes this more efficient? Well, like I said before, now the app will control what power the boiler runs at for the central heating. Now, this is a combination boiler system, remember we're talking about. So now the boiler will control how hot the radiators get. Now, don't get confused with your thermostatic radiator valves. That's separate again. So it's now going to adjust how hot the temperature that the central heating runs at, and it can adjust that up and down depending on the weather, and so making it more efficient. Now, normally we would just set that to around about 60 degrees or 65, and then the boiler would just run at that temperature. When it reaches that, it would then turn it itself off. But now the boiler can run at a lower temperature, say 40 degrees, and then when the house gets to the correct temperature, or the boiler gets to that temperature, it'll then modulate down, that's turn the gas down and then turn itself off. So here's one thing, all modern boilers modulate, that is that they change the gas. So if you imagine like a gas hob, we can turn the flame up and down. Well, all modern boilers do that anyway. So the boiler will always adjust the flame up and down to what is needed to make the boiler run efficiently. Now let's think of our house as a box. So we all live in boxes and we're trying to heat up the inside of our box to a set temperature, say 21 degrees. Now consider this, say our box is at 11 degrees. To get our house up to 21 degrees, we need to heat our house up by 10 degrees. To raise the temperature of our house up by 10 degrees, we need to put a set amount of energy in. And that doesn't change, that's physics. But what we can change is the speed at which we do it at. So if we run our boiler at a higher temperature, we'll use more energy than if we run it at a lower temperature. But that higher temperature will get there quicker. Now this is where it can get a little confusing and it starts to make your brain hurt. So let's say our central heating is being controlled by the app and it's running at a lower temperature, maybe 40 degrees. And then it takes 10 minutes to warm the house up by 10 degrees to make it 21 degrees. Or if we don't have the app and we set the boiler temperature manually to say 60 degrees, now the room heats up and it only takes 5 minutes to raise the temperature up by 10 degrees to make the room 21 degrees. So we've got a time difference of 5 minutes between running the boiler at a lower temperature or running at a higher temperature. So although the boiler's run for 5 minutes longer, it's actually done it more efficiently. But the question is, how much more efficiently? Now, working out the efficiency of your boiler and the amount of energy you've used is quite tricky because there are so many factors in play. Now, the easiest way to work out how much energy we've used is to take that 10 minutes and see how much energy we've used, and then take the 5 minutes, see how much energy that's used, minus it from the 10 minutes and see what we've got left over. It's actually quite surprising, but there's not that much difference. So why is that? Well, that's because there's so many factors in play here. Of course, I am only talking about new high efficiency condensing combination boilers here. And a new modern boiler is already really efficient. And if you've got your system well balanced like mine is, you have a room thermostat and thermostatic radiator valves, maybe zoned floors, then again your system is going to be running pretty efficiently. I think I'm going to round it up just about here. I covered the basics. There is a lot more to talk about when it comes to energy and which is more efficient. Now, in general, we are still told that running a boiler at a lower temperature is going to make our central heating more efficient. I wish I could give you a definitive answer for the best settings for your house, but every property is different. Everyone loses heat at different amounts, so in every situation it's different. One last thing for the engineers to think about, we've been told that when the boiler starts up is when it's running at its most efficient. So that's when you get the most amount of condensing. So when you got a temperature at say 10 degrees and we got a target temperature of 60, now the boiler is heating up and it's trying to get to 60 degrees. And of course there's a big differential between the flow and the return, hence making it condense more, which will make it more efficient, right? Or is it using more gas? So if you then set the temperature a lower temperature, it doesn't condense as much. So that means it's not as efficient? I don't know, you tell me. And that is why this subject is so confusing and mind-blowing. Right, that's about it then. So I hope I haven't completely confused you and left you with your mind blown, not knowing what to do. Obviously, if you want to watch my video on how to use the new Vaillant ecoTEC Plus, you can click on that link there. If you want to know about the SensoROOM Pure, click on that link there. You can give me a thumbs up, click on the subscribe, ring on a bell, and there's always my toolbox friend. Bye for now. See you next time.